In this tutorial, you'll learn how to create an analysis of a connecting rod with pretension. You'll learn to create mesh with specific washer face, create hex solid bolts, create the structural analysis and new post-processing for pretension vector. First, import piston parasolid. Isolate the pin, rod, and cap part. Head to the mesh ribbon. Open mesh controls and go to washer section. Select the circle as shown from the bolt holes and set a washer width of 4 mm and 2 number of layers elements along the width. Let's create the solid mesh by going to the TET mesh. Set an element size of 5 mm and stretch as quality. To create the solid bolts, first click on the Advanced ribbon and then Bolt Modeling. Under the 3D Bolt section, select Create Bolt. Head to Pattern 1 using Face Group. We need to select first the washer faces created from the mesh control. Then the thread faces from the rod, as shown. Use the cylinder filter to simplify the selection. Drag and drop the bolts created to the meshed assembly. You can randomize colors by right-clicking on the assembly name and select Set Random Color. Let's create our solution. Go to the Solution ribbon, Structural Static Stress, and create a linear static solution by selecting all meshed parts. Apply the materials as needed. To load materials, use the built-in database option. Select the solid folder, import cast iron and steel. Assign cast iron to the rod and cap. The rest assign it as steel. You can also assign by selecting all parts. Right-click, Materials, Steel. Next, we need to create contacts between our parts. First, use the Auto Contact under the Analysis ribbon. Select the rod as main body and pin as secondary. Set contact type as tie and enable surface to surface option. Repeat the same with rod and cap contact. Head to the manual contact. Isolate the cap and both cylindrical faces in touch with the bolts. Select the cylindrical faces counterpart from the bolts. Change contact type to slide, enable surface to surface option and hit apply. Repeat the same with the rod and bolts. For the last contact, select the washer faces from the cap and select then the counterparts from the bolts. Change the contact type to tie and hit. OK. In the Solution browser, right-click on Contacts and select Review Contacts. Verify all contacts were created correctly. You can do this by selecting the contact name and visualizing the contact surface between all parts. To generate load cases, right-click on your solution name and select Create Load Cases. Rename the first to Pretension. Constrain the model by using fixed constraint on all displacement degrees of freedom and select the cylindrical faces from the pin. Let's create the pretension for the bolts. Go to Pretension section, Solid Bolts. Use the Find Pretension section, set a force of 100 newtons, select both bolts, and hit OK. Create a new load case by right-clicking on Load Case, Create. Rename it to Load. Right-click on the fixed constraint from the previous load case and add to the current one. Go to Loads and hit Bearing Pressure. Set a semi-load angle of 180 degrees and force component to minus 10,000 Newton on Z. Select the interior faces from the rod and cap. You can review the pressure by right-click on the load and show contour. Right-click on Settings, Load Case Settings, and include Pretension Load Case as shown. Finally, right-click on Results and hit Update to start the solution. Let's review first our pretension solution. You can now visualize pretension forces as a vector. Change the component from element stresses to pretension force and plot from contour to vector. Change back to contour and the load case from pretension to load to visualize the stresses and displacement, including the bearing pressure.